This is Margie Barrett of Lansdale, Pennsylvania, listening to the International Radio Report every Sunday morning at 10:30 on TKUT 90.3 FM Montreal.
Welcome, everyone, to the International Radio Report for Sunday, November the 9th, 2025. My name's Sheldon. I am here with Jill. We thank you for tuning in to us with our 30 minutes of news and information from the world of radio. We have stories from all over the place for you today. We'll take you a bit around the world, have some amateur radio news for you later on. First off, we are going to start with a local story. Gilles, you've been scanning the French press in Montreal and came up with something interesting from Cogeco Média.
Yeah, it's the owner of Cogeco Média that is in a very difficult financial situation. The company president, Caroline Jamais, commercial radio industry, is facing a difficult time. The revenues coming from ads is going down, and it's going towards, of course, media on the internet, the giants like Google and Meta and all of that. What she's saying is, so the government has been talking about giving money to, television, to newspapers, to try to save them and help them out. And at the end, it's interesting, nobody gave money to radio. And it seems like we're all the forgotten people. It's radio is not important or something, and there shouldn't be money going there. She actually was talking at some hearings at the CRTC, and they're saying that, they are losing money right now, and that this is not sustainable, and that at some point they will have to take tough decisions. She's asking for a few things. One of them, not necessarily a lot of people will be happy with that one. She's asking, can we relax the quotas on francophone, anglophone balance of a radio of music we can play? This is one she's asking. She's like, I understand, but it's kind of hurting us a little bit because the digital media online doesn't have any rules. They play whatever they play. We have rules, and it annoys some listeners. So she's like, we're not trying to get away from Quebec culture or francophone music, but we've got to face the fact that it's making it more difficult for us stay afloat and to be in competition with these online services. And she does mention that decision that says, yep, Cube Radio on 99.5, it's acceptable. We've got no problem with that. And she says, I'm sorry, that decision is not acceptable. We cannot accept that you say that a company that already has a lot of media, TV stations and all, can do this. Buying all of that airtime for Cube Radio to play on the air is pretty much like buying a station and playing the content you want. And we don't accept that. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's definitely something interesting because we don't have a lot of the media here in Quebec coming out and, kind of complaining about conditions.
Yeah, it's interesting that something different, actually. They're not asking for money. They're just asking for some regulation change that will allow them to possibly make more money. So, it's different than often they come with their hands out and it's, we need financial assistance. Well, this isn't financial assistance. It's sustainable for them to have these rules changed. So I'm pretty sure the Quebec government will not be very happy about that. But, Cogeco is a major player. And if they're coming out and taking a stance like that, they realize, we want to serve the public and give the public what they want. And that will probably help advertising. So, yeah, I can understand their position. All right, we move to another station that's going through some difficulty. This is at a campus, though. It's Fanshawe College seeking partners to keep campus radio station going. This comes from Connie Thiessen at Broadcast Dialogue. Fanshawe College is soliciting community support to help keep its campus radio station, 106.9, the XCIXX FM, operating after announcing it is pulling its financial support. The London, Ontario-based college was among the post-secondary institutions that announced this spring it was suspending numerous programs amid a sharp decline in enrollment, including broadcasting radio and media production, journalism, television and digital news, and advanced live digital media production. 106.9 The X, which launched in 1978 with the distinction of being the first licensed instructional campus radio station, has largely been fueled by the emerging talent of students from the radio, media, and journalism programs. Susan Clouet, Senior Vice President Academic, said in a college appeal on Friday that without future students in the programs beyond April 2026, Fanshawe is unable to financially support the radio station. We don't want to lose the radio station, but we can't continue to operate if at significant loss every year and without the majority of the students who participate in the operation of the station, she said. We value deeply the contributions made by thousands of faculty, staff, and students who have learned their craft at the station over almost 50 years and are proud of the fact that many of our graduates have gone on to successful careers in broadcasting in Ontario and around the world. The station's current license term doesn't expire until 2030. The college said it's continuing to explore options that, with those interested in partnering with the college, encouraged to contact Mary Harrison, the Dean of Faculty of Arts and Language, regional campuses, and continuing education by November the 14th. So this is not good news. It's twofold bad news. One, the station's in difficulty, and two, there are no students or a lot less students enrolling in programs and studies revolving around media. Even if they could stay on the air, where are they going to get the people from the college that would want to be on the radio? So it makes it sound like the appeal that we used to have decades ago of, wow, I can be on the radio, is not there anymore. It's disappearing, and people are looking to go into other types of fields. And because of that, the radio station's been cutting back and struggling, and now it's reaching a point where the financial support just may not be there anymore.
Think about it. If you would like to do a show or your own program, well, you can go through the traditional, I would like to do it through, community radio or campus community radio. Or you could also, and it sounds much cooler for a lot of people, I'll set it up online and have my podcast. So there's a competition there also. Maybe some of them are interested in doing sounds like radio, but in reality they want to do it online because it just sounds cooler today. That's the way it's done, and radio is kind of that old thing that no, we don't do it through radio anymore.
Yeah, well, everybody you hear, they're bringing guests on TV shows and stuff, and it's this guy has a podcast, this woman has a podcast, everybody's got a podcast. I've heard a lot of broadcasters on radio and television saying, we learned and we studied our craft and we developed it, and now anybody with a microphone, can sit at home and put something together and throw it out there online, and they use the term podcasting, but they sort of think we're broadcasting, that it's just not the same thing, but podcast is the buzzword right now. It's the thing to do. And they're everywhere. There's tens of thousands of these things out there. So yeah, it's definitely changed the media landscape. That's for sure.
So get ready, everyone. It's coming. Radio remains the soundtrack of holiday season. Katz finds. This is by Cameron Coates of Radio Inc. With Halloween now done with, the deluge of holiday format flips is now less than a week away. It's one of radio's most famous ratings tactics. But does it still work? New Katz Media Group data fills in the gaps on the state of seasonal cheer for stations as the year closes out. Katz analyzed 102 stations in PPM measured markets that switched to 24/7 holiday programming during the 2024 season. The findings compared January to September 2024 performance to the December holiday period and revealed substantial audience increases. For adults 18 and over, average quarter-hour listening jumped 34.4%, with Cume up 17.7%. Among black adults 25-54, it rose by 22.5%, and Cume increased 11.9%. Hispanic adults 25 to 54 posted a 30.1% increase and a 18.3% rise in Cume, underscoring the broad appeal of holiday formats across diverse audiences. A 2023 Katz Radio Group study found that 84% of adults enjoy holiday music, and for the biggest fans, radio remains the top source, outperforming streaming services and platforms like YouTube as the go-to destination for the truly festive. Last week's release of Katz Holiday by the Numbers report reinforces radio's unmatched role in reaching and motivating holiday shoppers. Radio connects consumers during key shopping moments, including a 3% Thanksgiving Eve spike in audience levels. Nielsen data shows hearing 3 or more radio ads boosts store visits by 159% and online purchases by 300%, while Forrester and the RAB found brands using radio see 22% higher foot traffic. MRI Simmons data shows heavy radio listeners are more active consumers with stronger engagement across retail, dining, and charitable giving. Above all, 79% of adults consider radio a trusted source, making it the most reliable and cost-effective channel for advertisers this holiday season, with a $17 to $1 return on investment. So people like Christmas music, apparently, and I remember a little study that said that people that listen to Christmas music in advance are happier people also. So it all goes together. People get festive, and you get festive, and hey, let's spend money. Let's buy gifts. Let's do something.
I'm always surprised at this. I'm not a fan of it. I can take it in small doses, but every year it seems to creep up. They start a little earlier, but it all comes down to dollars. It's keeping some stations alive.
Yep.
I mean, they basically, a lot of them just go automated. They even let their staff go off on holiday while they're doing this, and there's just nonstop music with ads dumped in. So, if it's keeping stations alive, well, I guess it works, and the numbers are showing that people are listening to it. So I guess it's a proven thing, and whether you like it or not, you're going to be hearing it.
Yep. Merry Christmas, Sheldon.
Yeah, right.
So what's happening with our sun? Well, last week when we did the show, the sun was very quiet, just a few sunspots. But in the last couple of weeks, I had been mentioning that something on the far side of the sun was doing a lot of flaring. And it's finally here. It's AR 4274, a very big and very complex group of sunspots. Their polarities are all mixed up, which makes them perfect for flaring all the time because they're unstable. And we did have already a few really good flares, including an X flare, which are the strongest ones. And it created, of course, blackouts while the flares would happen. And we've had some geomagnetic storming going on. In fact, there's a geomagnetic storm, minor geomagnetic storm happening as we're recording on Friday evening. And, well, you know what? This is going to be the dominant sunspot for the week. A lot of stuff could happen here. We could have some major solar flares. So when there's a solar flare, you get a blackout, lasts half an hour. And, of course, then that sunspot, as it's actually rotating really and facing Earth, is probably going to do some geomagnetic storming at the same time. So this is going to be interesting this week to look at what happens. Sunspot number 104, the solar flux is now at 163. And to witness what propagation is like, Well, you got to turn on a radio and listen.
This is Rita Barrett from Harleysville, Pennsylvania. You're listening to the International Radio Report on CKUT 90.3 FM in Montreal.
Our next story comes to us from Julian Ryall, reporting in Tokyo for DeutscheWelle, the voice of Germany. North Koreans left in the dark as foreign broadcasts cut. The U.S. and South Korean governments have halted the operation of media organizations that were broadcasting into North Korea, leaving tens of thousands of residents of the world's most isolated country in the dark about what's happening in the outside world. This is very bad for the people of North Korea and a really serious setback for human rights there, said Kim Yoo-jin, who fled the North with her mother and sister in the 1990s. The governments are denying the people of North Korea the freedom to access information, and now all they will hear is Pyongyang's propaganda, she told DeutscheWelle. Previously, North Koreans could surreptitiously tune in to Radio Free Asia and Voice of America from the U.S., as well as South Korea's Voice of Freedom broadcasts. Activists have said that the broadcasts help North Koreans endure hardships by allowing them to hear things the regime does not want them to know. Kim said she never listened to foreign radio broadcasts before she defected because it was simply too dangerous to do so. The regime in Pyongyang was willing to invest a lot of time and effort in catching and punishing people who accessed foreign media. In some cases, those caught would be tried publicly and sentenced to hard labor, or in some extreme cases, to death. Kim said the North Korean government fears those broadcasts and warned that dangers for those who listen to foreign media have become significantly more serious in recent years. Voice of America has been silenced effectively since Donald Trump returned to the White House earlier this year. The new administration quickly fired hundreds of staff and issued an executive order to eliminate VOA's and Radio Free Asia's parent agency, the U.S. Agency for Global Media. In late August, the South Korean government announced that it was halting broadcasts of Voice of Freedom into the North after 15 years. Huge loudspeaker systems on the border that had blasted news and South Korean pop music into the North have also been dismantled. On October 29th, a message from Rosa Huang, executive editor of Radio Free Asia, stated her broadcaster was halting work due to uncertain funding for the first time in RFA's 29-year history. The newsroom is dark. The microphones are off. Broadcasts have been silenced. Publishing is paused on social media and on our websites. Without RFA, 26 million North Koreans isolated by the repressive regime's war on free speech and a free press will lack a critical link to independent information, she said, pointing to the broadcaster's award-winning coverage of the plight of North Korean defectors. In October, the 38 North website, which analyzes North Korean affairs, held an event to explore the impact of the radio and television beamed into the North. It showed that the anti-regime radio broadcasts are down now by 85%, and television programming has disappeared entirely since the U.S. and South Korean government's cuts. And while it is difficult to determine just how many people the broadcasts were reaching, the analysts emphasized again that the significant effort and resources spent by the North Korean regime to block them provides some indication of their penetration. The North has become more adept at jamming broadcasts, and the coronavirus pandemic made it harder to smuggle USB sticks and memory cards into the country. However, enhanced legal restrictions from Pyongyang, such as the Anti-Reactionary Thought and Culture Law, passed in 2020, shows how seriously Pyongyang is taking this threat to its authority, according to the experts participating in the 38 North event. I am sure the government in Pyongyang is very unhappy with this development. A professor of international studies at Kogeco National University. Halting these broadcasts mean the people there only have North Korean state media to listen to now, and they will know less and less about what is happening in the outside world. In one sense, I can understand the South Korean government's decision, as it did not want tensions to escalate further and hoped to open lines of communications with the North. But At the same time, this means that people living in a country that is already essentially a prison now have even less access to information. North Korean defectors Kim said that while foreign broadcasts did not play a large part in her own defection 3 decades ago, they later grew to become a critical tool against the regime. The broadcast taught people in North Korea what human rights are, she said. It told them what freedom is. For some, it made them fight for the freedom by leaving the North. I cannot understand why we have done the regime's work for it by ending these broadcasts. It's going to have an impact. It is having an impact already. I guess, if some of these people in the North do have access to some shortwave radios, they can maybe still pick up some broadcasts from other services. But these were the main ones that were really aiming at them. And with those gone, they're going to be really limited.
Yep, there's a lot of talk about radios being modified because the radios they're being given by the government, of course, are locked onto the North Korean broadcasts. These are important. There is a reason for North Korea to jam, and it's because they know people are listening. So we have the Radio New Zealand Pacific Cyclone Watch service that's activated. So this is via Radio New Zealand Pacific. So the South Pacific cyclone season officially started on November 1st and will run through April 2026. Meteorologists are predicting 5 to 9 cyclones for the Southwest Pacific in this season. RNZ Pacific Cyclone Watch service has become an important communications lifeline for Pacific nations and territories over the years, who are affected by ever-increasing number of tropical cyclones in the region. The Cyclone Watch service operates during the cyclone season in the South Pacific, which is November through the end of April. Once cyclone alerts are issued, RNZ Pacific will broadcast hourly updates of these bulletins and whenever the situation changes. Our information comes from meteorological services in the region. We also attempt to get damage reports from local government authorities and non-governmental agencies who are active in the field, as well as people on the ground who have been affected by the cyclone. RNZ Pacific broadcasts official vital weather updates and information via our shortwave transmitter. When local power grids and transmission facilities have been rendered inoperable by a cyclone, our broadcasts may be the only updates that people in the island nations and territories can receive. And so here's the updated on-air frequency and time schedule for the RNZ Pacific Cyclone Watch service for 2025-2026 season. So they'll be on from UTC time. So from 12:59 to 16:50 on 7390, targeting the Pacific. 16:51 to 18:58 on 9700, targeting the Pacific. 18:59 to 20:58 on 15720, 20:59 to 05:58 on 17675, and 05:59 to 12:58 UTC on 13755.
Good to see that Radio New Zealand sees a purpose for shortwave broadcasting.
Definitely.
And a very important one, too. Our final story is telling us all that it is DX season for all us DXers out there in the world. This comes from Bob Colegrove's Radio Corner via the SWLing blog. In the Northern Hemisphere, the nights continue to get longer as we approach the winter solstice. We gain an hour in the early evening darkness. This was on Sunday when we changed the clocks. And the summer atmospheric disturbances are nearly gone. And propagation, when there's no geomagnetic storms, of course, is generally better. It's time to set aside the activities of summer and once again dive underneath the headsets. DXing is not the same thing as listening. For listening, you position yourself in a nice recliner with the radio on the table beside you. You set the radio to an ATS and scan the available fare. You select one of the more interesting results, and together with your favorite beverage, listen to the programming. DXing, however, on the other hand, requires well-planned work and lots of patience. Critics may say it also requires some imagination. However, I have always tried to be honest with myself and ask if what I am hearing is truly QSLable or verifiable. Don't get me wrong, I listen to a lot, but I also DX. Living on the east coast of North America, I often direct my antenna towards Asia and the Pacific, hoping to hear Japan and New Zealand. However, more often than not, these have proven to be elusive. DXing is like fishing. Often you pull up at an old boot or find that the bait is gone. Further, the sound quality of a true DX signal will have no appeal to an audiophile. It is intentionally weak and subject to fading. So all you DXers out there, you know what this guy's talking about. But for everybody else, maybe you're new to our program or you haven't been around it for a long time. And what are these guys talking about DX all the time? Well, that's what it is. Squeeze those headphones on tight, listen carefully, and try to pull out those weak signals from all corners of the planet. It's a lot of fun. And we're into the season now for sure.
Yep. And that changes day to day. Doesn't mean because you didn't hear something today, you might not hear it tomorrow. It might be there tomorrow, actually. So you got to do it regularly. And of course, propagation changes all the time. So,
well, Jill, you always say, turn on that radio and listen. Well,
voila.
Turn it on and really listen. Listen
Absolutely.
hard for this little weak signals out there.
Yeah, patience is key. So we've got some Amateur Radio The Expedition special events. Quickly going through this, we have Sierra Leone that is actually surpassed 60,000 contacts.
Wow.
And are going through and continuing on different bands as 9 Lima 8 Mike Delta and using digital modes as SSB, CW. I got a contact this week on a couple of bands with that station. It was pretty nice. And in the same area, Banana Island, which is just off the coast in the Atlantic Ocean, 9 Lima, which is an island on the air as AF037, is, of course, active. That one I've not yet. I've tried several times. They had different modes. And if you want a QSL, it's via India Kilo 2 Victor Uniform Charlie. And something fun, here in Canada, we have Victor Charlie 9, Charlie Alpha Fox. Special event, amateur radio station, operating throughout November to honor both current serving members and veterans of the Canadian Armed Forces during Canadian Armed Forces Appreciation Month. This commemorative station is operated by the Atlantic Canada DX and Contest Group as part of their ongoing commitment to recognizing military service and sacrifice. What's cool is that if you log Victor Charlie 9, Charlie Alpha Fox, if you make a contact, you have a certificate. But if you make a contact on 3 different bands, you get another certificate. And if you have a contact with them on 5 different bands, you have another certificate. And of course, we'll share the website where you just enter your call sign. And if you are logged in, it will give you access to those beautiful certificates that you can download on your computer. So this is a lot of fun. So we are out of time.
Lots of great information today. We hope you enjoyed it and took some of the notes. If you missed anything, you can always go and listen to our program once it is put up on our YouTube channel. You can find us on YouTube. Look for us, International Radio Report. And our Facebook group, International Radio Report as well. You can join the group there and exchange information, post up stories for us, what have you. We always appreciate that. And CKUT, of course, live streams and archives our program at their website, ckut.ca. Finally, if you want to reach us, any questions, comments about the show, suggestions, radioreport@yahoo.com is our email address. So that's it for this week. Talk to you again next Sunday here on the International Radio Report on CKUT 90.3 FM in Montreal. Have a great week.
Bye-bye.
Татьяна, Иван, Михаил, Ульяна, Семен.